Welcome students. Today we are dealing with topic Mineral Nutrition chapter number 12. We know plants obtain nutrients from their natural environment like atmosphere, water and soil. Carbon, hydrogen and oxygen are called as skeletal elements. Carbon, hydrogen and oxygen are called as skeletal elements. Why? Because they constitute about 94% of the dry weight. These elements play an important role in the formation of organic compounds such as carbohydrates, fats and proteins. That's why they are called as skeletal elements. So these skeletal elements play an important role in the formation of organic compounds like carbohydrates, protein and fats. So that's why these elements are called as skeletal elements. Now, non-mineral elements are obtained from air and water. Based on the essentiality, Aaron and Stone classified the elements into essential and non-essential elements. Before that, Aaron and Stott gave criteria required for essential minerals. A mineral that comes to an essential element, it has some criteria like the elements necessary for growth and development. If an element is to be an essential element, that element is required for growth and development. Then they should have direct role in metabolism of the plant. So those elements have the direct role in the metabolism of plant, and also the elements cannot be replaced by other elements. Those essential elements cannot be replaced by some other elements. Such elements are essential elements. Then the deficiency of the element makes the plant impossible to complete their vegetative and reproductive phase. So these are the required criteria to become an element essential. Now, based on some criteria, the minerals are classified in different types. First one, based on their quantity requirements, minerals are classified into three. Based on quantity requirements, minerals are classified into three: macronutrients, micronutrients, unclassified minerals. Macronutrients, micronutrients and unclassified minerals. Macronutrients are nothing but the minerals which are required in higher concentration are called macronutrients, whereas the minerals which are required in less concentration are called minor nutrients. Some minerals like sodium, silicon, cobalt and cerium are not included in the list of essential nutrients but are required by some plants. These minerals are placed in the list of unclassified minerals. These minerals play specific roles like silicon essential for pest resistant, prevent water lodging and help cell wall formation in the families Ecusitaceae, Cyperaceae and Graminea. So unclassified minerals. Some minerals like sodium, silicon, cobalt, cerium, selenium. These are some minerals that are not classified in the group of essential elements, but these are required for some plants to perform some necessary processes. Like silicon is essential for pest resistant and prevent water lodging and helps in cell wall formation in families like Icositaceae. Icositaceae is a family under pteridophytes, Cyperaceae and Gramineae. Now, macronutrients. We know that what are macronutrients? Nutrients which are needed in high concentration. Example are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and lastly sulphur. So these elements are required in high concentration, whereas minor nutrients are iron, manganese, copper, zinc, chlorine, nickel, molybdenum, etc. So these are the elements which require in low concentration or trace amounts. So these are the classification of nutrients based on quantity requirements. Now we can look the classification of minerals based on mobility. Based on the mobility of minerals, the minerals are classified into two groups. First one, actively mobile elements and relatively immobile minerals. So, based on the mobility of elements, the elements or minerals are classified into actively mobile elements and relatively immobile elements. Now we can look what is actively mobile elements. Actively mobile elements include nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, chlorine, sodium, zinc and molybdenum. So the deficiency in these elements first appear on old and senescent leaves due to the active movement of minerals to younger leaves. So, in actively mobile elements, the minerals are actively moved towards the younger leaves than the older leaves. So, the deficiency in these elements may first appear in the older leaves than the younger leaves. Whereas, relatively immobile elements it includes calcium, sulphur, iron, boron and copper shows deficiency that first appear on the end leaves due to the immobile nature of minerals. Just opposite to actively mobile elements. The deficiency in relatively immobile elements first appear on the younger leaves, whereas the deficiency in the minerals first appear in the older leaves in actively mobile elements. Now we can look the classification of minerals based on their function. Classification of minerals based on their function. So, certain minerals shows their distinctive function. So, based on the function, the minerals are classified into structural component minerals. First one, structural component minerals. Second one, enzyme function minerals. Enzyme function minerals. Third one, osmotic potential. And last one, energy components. Energy components. Structural component minerals. The word itself, we know that these minerals helps in the structural composition of the plants. Minerals like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. These minerals play an important role in the structural composition. While enzyme function means some minerals, they perform some particular function like molybdenum. Molybdenum is essential for nitrogenase enzyme during reduction of atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia. We know that what is nitrogen fixation? Nitrogen fixation is the reduction of atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia. We are going to look what is nitrogen fixation in detail in the last section of this chapter. So molybdenum is an essential for the functioning of the enzyme nitrogenase. Then zinc. Zinc is an important activator for alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme and carbonic anhydrase enzyme. So molybdenum is required for the functioning of nitrogenase enzyme, whereas zinc is responsible for the activation of carbonic anhydrase and alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme. Then magnesium. Magnesium is also another activator for RUBP carboxylase oxygenase. So Rubisco. So magnesium is an important essential element. So they play a role as an activator of the Rubisco enzyme. Then nickel. Nickel is a constant of urease and hydrogenase. So the urease and hydrogenase are two enzymes. Nickel is an important constant of those enzymes. Now osmotic potential. Potassium. Potassium plays a key role in maintaining osmotic potential of the cell. Like the absorption of water, movement of stomata and turgidity are due to osmotic potential. So in some chapter transporting plants, I think in transporting plants we are detailing looking what is osmotic potential and what is the role of potassium in closing the stomata and turgidity of the cell, everything. So potassium play a key role in maintaining osmotic potential. Okay, then last one is energy components. Magnesium in chlorophyll and phosphorus in ATP. We know that ATP and chlorophylls are the energy molecules. Those magnesium and phosphorus are the energy component minerals. Magnesium and phosphorus. So based on function, structural component minerals, enzyme function, osmotic potential and energy components. Now we are going to discuss detailedly about the function, mode of absorption and deficiency symptoms of both micro and macronutrients. So what are we going to discuss? First, function. Second, mode of absorption and deficiency symptoms of both macro as well as micronutrients. So for you can prepare a table with heading function, mode of absorption and deficiency symptoms, just like this. Here you can write the name of minerals, here the function, here the mode of absorption and here the deficiency. So it will help you to study by using comparison. Because almost all of the nutrients they showing same deficiency symptoms, same mode of absorption. So which will help you by preparing this table, which will help you to study by comparing. It will help you. So first we are going to look the function, mode of absorption and deficiency symptom of macronutrients. We know what are macronutrients, minerals which are required in high concentration. First one, nitrogen. First one, nitrogen. It is required by the plants in greatest amount. We know that almost all the functions they carry by using nitrogen, like the formation of DNA, the formation of protein, RNA, everything. The structural constant is nitrogen. We already said the structural component minerals. So nitrogen is one of the structural component minerals. So it is required by the plants in greatest amount and is an essential component of protein, nucleic acid, amino acid, vitamins, hormones, alkaloids, chlorophyll and cytochrome. It is absorbed by the plants as nitrate forms. So the nitrogen is absorbed by the plants as nitrate forms. The deficiency symptom is chlorosis, stunted growth, anthocyanin formation. So these are the deficiency symptoms of nitrogen. Then the second macronutrient is phosphorus. The second macronutrient is phosphorus. It is the cell constant membrane. Phosphorus is the constant of cell membrane, protein, nucleic acid, ATP, NADP, phytin and sugar phosphate. So, it is absorbed as H2PO4 minus forms or HPO4 minus forms. So the deficiency symptoms of phosphorus is stunted growth, anthocyanin formation, necrosis, inhibition of cambial activity, affect root growth and fruit ripening. Now look, the deficiency symptoms of both nitrogen and phosphorus containing anthocyanin formation as well as stunted growth. So if you are preparing that box and by studying comparison, you can easily recognize. Then the third micronutrient is potassium. The third micronutrient is potassium. So potassium maintains turgidity and osmotic potential of the cell, opening and closure of stomata, phloem translocation. It stimulates activity of enzymes, anions and cations by ion exchange. So there are many functions that is carried by potassium, such as it maintains turgidity, it maintains osmotic potential of the cell, it is responsible for the opening and closure of stomata, and it helps in phloem translocation, it stimulates activity of enzyme, cation and cation by ion exchange. So it is absorbed as K plus ions. It is absorbed as K plus ion forms. And the deficiency symptoms of potassium is marginal chlorosis, necrosis, low cambial activity, loss of apical dominance, lodging in cereals and curled leaf margin. So the deficiency symptoms are marginal chlorosis, necrosis, low cambial activity, loss of apical dominance, lodging in cereals and curled leaf margin. So these are the deficiency symptoms of potassium. Now we are going to look another macronutrient, calcium. Calcium is involved in the synthesis of calcium pectate in middle lamella, mitotic spindle formation, mitotic cell division, permeability of cell membrane, lipid metabolism, activity of the enzyme phospholipase, ATPase, amylase, and also it is an activator of adenyl kinase. So, mainly calcium is a cofactor activator molecule and they involved in the synthesis of calcium pectate. Calcium pectate required in the formation of middle lamellae. Also it is involved in the synthesis of mitotic spindle formation, mitotic cell division, permeability of cell membrane, lipid metabolism, activation of some enzymes like phospholipase, ATPase, amylase and activator of adenyl kinase. The calcium is absorbed in the form of calcium ions, Ca2 plus exchangeable ions. So calcium is absorbed by the plants in the form of Ca2 plus ions. The deficiency of calcium is chlorosis, necrosis, stunted growth, premature fall of leaves and flowers, inhibit seed formation and black heart of celery, hooked leaf tip in sugar beet, musa and tomato. So the deficiency symptoms are quite different from others like premature fall of leaves, flowers, inhibit seed formation, black heart of celery, hooked leaf tip in sugar beet, musa and tomato. Now we are going to discuss about magnesium. It is another macronutrient. Magnesium. Magnesium is the essential constant of chlorophyll. We already said that magnesium is an energy nutrient. So it is an essential constant of chlorophyll and it activates enzymes of carbohydrate metabolism, that is rubisco and pep carboxylates. So pep carboxylates and rubiscos are the enzymes which is responsible for the carbohydrate metabolism and these enzymes are activated by the nutrient magnesium and it is involved in the synthesis of DNA and RNA. It is essential for binding of ribosomal subunit. Also magnesium is essential for the binding of subunits of ribosomes and it absorbed as the form of Mg2 plus ion. So it is absorbed as Mg2 plus ionic forms. And the deficiency of magnesium is intervenal chlorosis, necrosis, anthocyan formation. Anthocyan formation means purple color formation. So anthocyan is different color, red, orange, red, everything. But due to the deficiency of magnesium, purple color anthocyan formation takes place and sand drawn of tobacco. Sand drawn of tobacco. So these are the deficiency symptoms. What are they? Intervenal chlorosis, necrosis, anthocyan formation and sand drawn of tobacco are the deficiency symptoms of magnesium. Then lastly we are going to discuss about sulphur. Sulphur is another macronutrient. Another macronutrient. Sulphur is an essential component of amino acids like cysteine, cysteine and methionine. Also it is a constant of coenzyme A. Vitamins like biotin and thiamine constant. Also sulphur is the constant of vitamins like biotin and thiamine and also it's constant of some proteins and pyridoxine. Plants utilize sulphur as sulfate form. Plants utilize sulphur as sulfate form. So what are the function of sulphur? It is an essential component of amino acids like cysteine, cysteine and methionine. Then it is also a constant of coenzyme A. Also the vitamins like biotin and thiamine and some proteins and pyridoxine. So sulphur is the main constant of these elements and also plant use or utilize the sulphur in the form of sulfate. Then what are the deficiency symptoms of sulfate? Chlorosis, anthocyanin formation, stunted growth, rolling of leaf tip and reduced nodulation in legumes. So deficiency symptoms means chlorosis, anthocyanin formation, stunted growth, rolling of leaf tip and reduced nodulation in legumes. So these are the deficiency symptoms of sulfur. So we look the function, mode of absorption and deficiency symptoms of the macronutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium and sulfur. Now we are going to discuss about the function, mode of absorption, deficiency symptoms of micronutrients. We know what are micronutrients, minerals which are required in low concentration. Even though nutrients that are required in trace amount that are essential for metabolism of plants, micronutrients are required in low concentration, but it is essential for metabolism of plants. Boron is essential for the translocation of sugars, and molybdenum is involved in nitrogen metabolism. Zinc is needed for biosynthesis of oxygen. So boron is required for the translocation of sugar, and molybdenum is required in the nitrogen metabolism, whereas zinc is needed in the biosynthesis of oxygen. So these elements are required in, even though these elements are required in trace amount, but they are essential for the metabolism of plants. Now we can detailedly see what are the micronutrients. First one, iron. First one, iron. Iron is required lesser than macronutrients but are larger than micronutrients. Hence, it can be placed in any one of the groups. So, we can't say iron is macronutrient or we can't say iron is micronutrient. Why? Because iron is required lesser amount than micronutrients, whereas higher amount than the micronutrients. Iron is essential element for the synthesis of chlorophyll and carotenoid. So, during chlorophyll synthesis and carotenoid synthesis, iron is essential. And also, it is a component of cytochrome, ferredoxin, flavoprotein, formation of chlorophyll, porphyrin, activation of enzymes like catalase, peroxidase, and also it is absorbed in the form of ferrous, ferric ions. So, it is absorbed in the form of ferrous and ferric ion. So, the functions of iron are, it is an essential constituent in the synthesis of chlorophyll and carotenoids, and also it is a component of cytochrome, ferredoxin, flavoprotein, formation of chlorophylls, porphyrin, activation of enzymes like catalase, peroxidase, and it is absorbed in the form of ferrous Fe2 plus and ferric Fe3 plus ionic forms. So, the absorption of Fe2 plus ion, that is ferrous ions, are comparatively more than ferric ion. So the absorption in the form of Fe2 plus is more compared to Fe3 plus ions. Mostly fruit trees are sensitive to ions. Ions. Then the deficiency symptom of ion is interveinal chlorosis, formation of short and slender stalk, and the inhibition of chlorophyll formation. So deficiency symptom of iron are interveinal chlorosis, formation of short and slender stalk, and inhibition of chlorophyll formation. So these are about iron. Now manganese. Manganese is the activator of carboxylase, oxidase, dehydrogenase and kinases enzyme. So manganese are the activator of dehydrogenase, carboxylase, oxidase and kinase. It is involved in the splitting of water to liberate oxygen, that is photolysis. During the light reaction, photolysis takes place. So the water molecule is split into hydrogen and oxygen. So hydrogen and oxygen. So this splitting is occur in the help of manganese. The deficiency symptoms of manganese is interveinal chlorosis, grey spot on oat leaves and poor root stem. The deficiency symptom of manganese are interveinal chlorosis, grey spot on oat leaves and poor root system. Now we can discuss copper. Sorry, I forgot to mention that the manganese are absorbed in the form of Mn2 plus ions. So the manganese are absorbed in the form of Mn2 plus ions. Now we can move copper. So copper is another micronutrient. So copper is another micronutrient. Copper is the constant of plastocyanic, component of enzymes like phenolase, tyrosinase and enzymes involved in redox reaction, synthesis of ascorbic acid, maintain carbohydrate and nitrogen balance, and it is a part of oxidase and cytochrome oxidase. So copper plays a very important role and it is a part of oxidase and cytochrome oxidase. That is, copper plays an important role in electron transport chain. Then also copper is a constant of plastocyanic and component of some enzymes like phenolases, tyrosinases, and also it is involved in redox reaction and the synthesis of acid like ascorbic acid, and also it maintains the carbohydrate and nitrogen balance in the plants. The copper absorbed in the form of cupric ions. Copper absorbed in the form of cupric ions. The deficiency of copper is dieback of citrus, reclamation disease of cereals and legumes, chlorosis, necrosis and exanthema in citrus. So the dieback of citrus, reclamation disease of cereals and legumes, chlorosis, necrosis and exanthema in citrus. These are the deficiency symptoms of copper. Now, zinc. Zinc. Zinc is the essential nutrient for the synthesis of indole acetic acid, that is oxy, and it is an activator of the enzyme carboxylases, alcohol dehydrogenase, lactic dehydrogenase, glutamic acid dehydrogenase, carboxypeptidase and tryptophan synthetase. So, zinc plays an important role as a cofactor or as an activator, and it is an essential for the synthesis of indole acetic acid or oxy, activator of some enzymes like carboxylase, alcohol dehydrogenase, lactic dehydrogenase, glutamic acid dehydrogenase, carboxypeptidase and tryptophan synthetase. The zinc is absorbed in the form of Zn2 plus ions. So zinc is absorbed in the form of Zn2 plus ions. And the deficiency symptom of zinc is little leaf and mottle leaf due to deficiency of oxygen. So we already discussed that zinc is responsible for the activation or the synthesis of oxygen. So if zinc is deficient, the activity of oxygen is ceases. So little leaf and mottle leaf is formed. Interveinal chlorosis, sternal growth, necrosis and Chiari disease of rice are the deficiency symptoms of zinc. Interveinal chlorosis, stunted growth, necrosis and Chiara disease of rice are the deficiency symptoms of zinc. Now, boron. Boron. Translocation of carbohydrates, uptake and utilization of calcium exchangeable ions, pollen germination, nitrogen metabolism, fat metabolism, cell elongation and differentiation. So, boron plays an important role in the metabolism like nitrogen metabolism and fat metabolism, also cell elongation and differentiation, and it involves in the translocation of carbohydrates, uptake and utilization of calcium ions, also plays an important role in pollen germination. So these are the functions of boron, and it is absorbed in the form of borate. It is absorbed in the form of borate form. The plant absorbs boron in the form of borate. And the deficiency symptom of boron are death of root and shoot tips, premature fall of flowers and fruit, brown heart of beetroot, internal cob of apple and fruit cracks. So the deficiency symptoms is different. It include death of a root and shoot tip, premature fall of flowers and fruit, brown heart of beetroot, internal cob of apple and fruit crack. Now the other micronutrient, molybdenum. The other micronutrient, molybdenum. Molybdenum is a component of nitrogenase enzyme, nitrate reductase enzyme, and also it is involved in nitrogen metabolism and nitrogen fixation. So we are going to look detail about nitrogen fixation and nitrogen metabolism. So in that, molybdenum plays an important role by it is a constant in the enzymes nitrogenase and nitrogen reductase, which is responsible for the nitrogen fixation and nitrogen metabolism. And the molybdenum is absorbed in the form of molybdate. Molybdenum is absorbed in the form of molybdate. Molybdenum is absorbed in the form of molybdate ions. The deficiency of molybdenum is chlorosis, necrosis, delayed flowering, retarded growth and white-tailed disease of cauliflower. So what are the deficiency symptoms? Chlorosis, necrosis, delayed flowering, retarded growth and white-tailed disease of cauliflower. These are the deficiency symptoms of molybdenum. The last one is chlorine. The last one is chlorine. Chlorine is involved in anion-cation balance and also its part in cell division, photolysis of water. So chlorine is important in photolysis and it's also important in cell division and is involved in anion-cation balance, and the chlorine is absorbed as Cl- ions. Chlorine is absorbed in the form of Cl- ions. So the deficiency of chlorine is wilting of leaf tips. The wilting of leaf tips are the deficiency of chlorine. So these are the function, mode of absorption and deficiency symptoms of micronutrients. So we compare both macronutrients as well as micronutrients. In your textbook, page number 233, there is a box that gives you an idea about minerals and their deficiency symptoms. So in that box, they are comparing all the macro as well as micronutrients together, and they prepared a box showing the common deficiency symptoms and diseases and what are the minerals that is responsible, the deficiency minerals that is responsible for those deficiency disease. So I request you students to please go through that table